Hey there, it's April Perry, and welcome to Learn, Do, Become Radio. Today we're talking about how to master your digital filing with 4 simple rules. And I laugh when I talk about digital or paper filing because I think, who wants to go listen to a podcast about filing? That is so boring, especially if you're out running or you're driving or you're doing something fun and you're thinking, I want something really, really interesting. But I promise you, if you listen to this podcast and you even just implement a little tiny bit of what I say, you're going to be so happy. And here's why. Most people spend hours looking for things. They want to work on something and they think, oh, where's that picture? Where's that file? Where's that screenshot? Where's that thing? And they spend hours a day looking for stuff. And think what that does to your life. That is so much time you're basically spinning in circles when you could be getting a rest, strengthening a relationship, doing something productive that actually feels like it's moving you forward. I mean, this is life-changing. Plus, when you know where everything is, your mind will feel calm, and that's going to permeate into your physical health, your mental health, your relationships, fulfilling your purpose, all of that. It's also going to help you financially because not only will you not be wasting time you could spend maybe doing your work and earning money, but you're also not going to miss opportunities or forget to, do all the stuff that needs to happen. So I hope that you're thinking, wow, April, thanks. This is going to be a great experience listening to this podcast. Okay, if you're brand new, I'm April Perry. So my husband Eric and I run LearnDoBecome.com. We help people who are overwhelmed by the details of life to create simple systems so they can do what matters most. And I know that you are thinking, guys, I have so much going on. How am I going to stop and create systems? That's why we provide bite-sized resources for you on our YouTube channel and here on the podcast and throughout the Learn, Do, Become website in the community. We just want you to get little bites at a time. So, okay, ready? We're going to jump in. If you were to imagine your digital world right now, all your digital files, imagine those as a paper world. Okay, if we took every digital file and either printed it out or whatever, and then we put it into a paper world. Would it look like a desk piled crazy high with stuff everywhere? Or would it be neat and organized where you could find anything you needed within seconds? And on the show notes page, I have a picture of a before and an after. We have so many of these from our community members that I love to share because there's just this excitement you feel when you go from messy to clean. But if you were to imagine your digital world, is it a mess or is it neat and tidy? If it's already neat and tidy, then today might give you a few more ideas. But for most people, it's just utter chaos. Now, I personally used to have utter chaos in my digital filing. It was because I would just throw them anywhere. I was busy and I just wanted to move on. Plus, when I first started working online, for example, and when I first got a digital camera and when I first got my smartphone, I didn't know how many digital files I was going to end up managing. So, for example, when we got our first digital camera, we used to organize everything by event. So I remember we had a folder that said, the park with the kids. We had like a folder, grandma's house. I didn't even think ahead to consider we were all going to have our own smartphone. We'd have other nicer digital cameras. We'd have a digital video camera. And then we'd need to organize there's no way I could organize by event. And I'd want the years together and the cameras together, right? Things like that. So I had no idea. Same thing inside of our business. I started creating these pages. We use something called lead pages. And so I'd be creating these lead pages and I would name it something like, oh, a class on how to get organized. And then I had to make another page because we made some changes. So then I'd call it Get Organized with this class. I had all these titles that had little differences, but I couldn't find them anyway. I finally figured out what to do, and that's what I'm sharing today. 4 rules that will just get your digital world feeling amazing. And here they are. Create purposeful locations, create purposeful categories, create purposeful names, and create purposeful processes, okay? Locations, categories, names, and processes. If you just get these 4 things going, it's going to change your whole life, and you will be thinking about me as your good friend online every time you file, and you'll be so proud of yourself, and you'll say, okay, we did this. It's awesome. I'm not trying to say I want you thinking of me when you're filing. I'm just saying I want to be the little voice in your head saying, you can do it. It's going to be awesome. Now, I'm outlining the process so you can implement it quickly, but I do recommend you take just a few minutes to actually pay attention and potentially take notes, paper or digital. And at the end, I'll show you where to put those notes so you can find them again and actually take action. And the best thing about this process is that even when technology changes, the principles will generally remain the same. So no matter what kinds of digital resources you use, you can create peace and order ongoing for the rest of your life. Let's start with rule number 1, create purposeful locations. Now, there are a lot of options for where to keep digital files. I like to have just a few spots where I keep them, but they are specific to the file type. And I'm not talking about things like a JPEG or a PDF or a movie file or something. I'm talking about how large they are and who needs to have access to them, and whether I want them available from my phone or just the computer, and if I need the internet for them, etc. Now, I invite you to listen to the ones I'm going to share, and then make a quick list of yours, the 3 to 5 most common types of files you're currently managing, and where it makes the most sense to put them. And then you're going to want to be consistent so you can rely on your system as you move forward. And maybe you don't do a ton online, so mainly it's like screenshots and photos. That might be what you do. Maybe you do a ton of stuff online. You're doing like Google Forms, Google Docs. Maybe you're like me, you run a podcast or a YouTube channel, so you've got all these big video files or, things like that. So it's going to be unique for each person, but I just encourage you to sit down and make a little list and decide where am I going to keep these. So here are my 4 main locations. First is Google Drive. I have 1 personal and 1 for business. So this is where I store my shareable documents, spreadsheets, images for personal and professional work, just things that I want to have super handy that are super easy to share. Second, Dropbox. So I pay for, I think ours is like $10 a month or something right now in 2025 while I'm recording. But we have 1 business account, but it does have a little personal folder in there, so I use it for some personal things. But the general business folder is the one that our team here at Learn, Do, Become can access. This mainly holds all of our large files. So YouTube, like our movie files, we put our ads, all the videos we've filmed for ads go in there. I include backups of our podcast. Anytime we do like a Zoom class or something for Arise, we store it in there as well. Anything that's like big for the most part, because Dropbox is awesome for really big files. And they also can be shared. I even have in Dropbox all of my dad's photos from the photo albums that he kept all while we were growing up. Inside my personal folder, we have Wilson family photos. And Spencer scanned like 30 to 40 albums, and we created them in a nice Dropbox folder that I then share with all my siblings so they can access them when they need them. Now, could I also have put them into, Google Photos or something else? Yes, I definitely could have. I just chose Dropbox for my purposes at the time. Okay, so Google Drive and Dropbox, the first 2. Next is Evernote. Now, Evernote has other comparable softwares out there like Notion or OneNote. And some people just use Google Drive instead of Evernote. I just love it, okay? I've used it for, I think, over 10 years. I use Evernote multiple times every day for personal notes, private business work, screenshots, journal items, brainstorms, family and home management details. It's my digital filing cabinet. And these are things that are rarely shared. But if I just want to access them really easily from my phone or computer, then I just stick them in Evernote. So when I'm doing my weekly planning, if I have got several pages, then it's things like, oh, here's someone's wedding announcement, or here's a flyer for this event coming up, or here's my handwritten notes from my planner. I just take photos of those or scans, and then I file them in Evernote. And I'll talk about the filing structure in a second. But I love that within one note in Evernote, I could have an audio, a little video, links, written text, photos, PDFs, like everything can just go all together. And so it's a great way for me to just combine a bunch of information. And right now, I mean, technology is improving so much all the time. So I feel silly even talking about technology sometimes on the podcast because it'll be outdated in like 10 seconds. But I love that if I take a photo of handwritten or printed text, I can just click transcribe and then it just puts it all right below that image. So now I can edit that text. It's fantastic. So anyway, good job, Evernote team. I love it. All right, then fourth and final is my external hard drive. So Eric and I have 2 copies of the same external hard drive. So there's always a backup and we keep them safely in like a fireproof safe. So, and anyway, it's awesome. It's great. So this is our private backup storage of all the family photos, family videos, key business files, etc. And because these are not online or in a shareable format, if there's anything that I want to make shareable, then before I put them onto the external hard drive, I also put them into one of the other 3 locations, Google Drive, Dropbox, or Evernote. Because the things on my hard drive, like I just go get them when I specifically need them, but it's more of the private and personal stuff. So that's it for the purposeful locations. I hope that you just have a few, they feel solid, you feel happy about them, and you think, yep, I'm good to go. Now let's go to rule number 2, which is to create purposeful categories. So once you know which types of files you put in which locations, you just want some general categories that are relatively the same across all of them. So mine generally follow this framework where it's personal, family, church, learn, do, become, and then any other large or important category that I choose to add. But those are the main 4. If you look at my Google Drive, my Evernote, and my paper cubbies, for example, you'll see that they all follow the same general pattern. Now, I have kind of spread things out a little bit, so I don't just have 4 notebooks in Evernote with, notebook stacks. I don't do it that way just because it's more clicking around. So I do have like maybe 8 personal categories. Like I have a journal category and I have a health category, things like that. But you can, structure them however you'd like. The main thing is that when you go to file something, you don't want to be looking through hundreds of options and you don't want to feel confused. And then when you go to locate something you filed, you want to know immediately where to go to look for it, right? And so all it is saying, what are the main categories that I use every day? And then how do I make this super easy on myself so I can just file it and find it? And if you've ever seen a picture of my Step Command Central, that's Steps to Everyday Productivity, our program, we show how to create a system to hold all the stuff. You'll see that I have 8 cubbies and those hold paper file folders. Those follow pretty much the exact same pattern where it's like personal, family, church, learn, do, become. And that way, when my brain is thinking, I need to put this somewhere, I don't think, wow, should I create some new file structure for it? Because that's what takes all your time and energy. Instead, if you just have a quick system, I just know exactly where to put it and I don't even have to think twice. So that's my goal for you, is that anytime you have an image, you have a piece of paper, you have like a document, and you think, I might need this in the future, I just want you to know exactly where to put it and not have it take any more of your brain space. Okay, just another example about how I use my cubbies and folders. For our YouTube channel, I keep my general brainstorms, scribbles, and audio ideas, like audio recordings of my ideas, inside of Evernote. I have a Learn, Do, Become general folder with a YouTube ideas subfolder. And if I'm thinking, oh, I might want to talk about this, or, oh, here's an idea, or I'm on a walk and I do a little recording, I can put it right there. And my actual video outlines, once I'm ready to say, here's what we're going to talk about today, or like the outline of what I'm reading right now, or what I'm reviewing right now, this was in my Google Drive, in a Learn, Do, Become folder with a YouTube outlines subfolder. So you might be like, well, why are you keeping YouTube brainstorms and podcast brainstorms inside of Evernote, and then you're keeping the outlines in Google Drive? Like, why not just keep them together? For me, it's because I use them differently. Because Evernote is so easy to work with and I can add my audios and photos and text and everything, I just like to keep it private, and it's not polished work ready to go out to the world. It's just my own stuff, and some of it I may want to share and some I may not. But my Google Drive folder is always shared with my daughter Grace. We have a YouTube folder, and you can share just that folder with anyone you want, how it's set up. It's awesome. Grace doesn't really use Evernote, and so it makes sense for me to use Google Drive, which formats things better. It's, put together as a nice document. My daughter can easily pull it up on her phone, or on her computer, and it just works better for us. So that's just an example. Now, our daughter Aaliyah, she uses Google Drive for most things. She doesn't use Evernote. She did for a while, but now she just does Google Drive. But she has them beautifully color-coded. It's awesome. I'll ask her if she'll take a little screenshot and put it on the show notes page so you can see how pretty it is. Her Google Drive is way prettier than mine, and it's way better organized than mine. I haven't gone back and done every file in my Google Drive, so hers is a great example. But I do have my files where I can find anything I need within seconds. Okay, rule number 3, create purposeful names. Now, digital searching is becoming better and better, and it might be tempting just not to label any files at all, but even some basic keywords and specifications are helpful. So because I keep things in categorized folders, I can generally find what I need in a few seconds, but if I give the title as many keywords as makes sense, I just find it so much easier to locate. So what I ask myself is, what words would I type in, like my phone or computer, to find this in the future? Like, okay, what words would I use? And it often just takes a moment to add in, a few more keywords. Now, for example, we use Christian healthcare ministries for our health coverage. Eric and I are self-employed, and Christian healthcare ministries has been awesome. So if I'm filing something related to that, when I'm titling it, I might type Christian Healthcare Ministries, but I might also title it with CHM because sometimes I might just be searching the acronym. Most of the time I'm keeping them all in the same folder, and it's just easy to go to the folder and locate it. But I do just like to help my future self out by adding just multiple keywords. And whenever I have similar files that are repeated month after month or year after year, I include in the naming convention, sometimes I use at the beginning, and I use year.month.date. This works so well. For family photos, for example, we'll have like a folder for Eric's phone, folder for my phone, each of the kids. And then inside we'll say 2025.1 to 2025.6, like 6 months of photos are all in this folder. And then we'll put April's iPhone photos. That way, when we go in the folder, all the folders are in chronological order, and I can just zip right in, or is that the right word, zip? I can just go right in and find what I need. So that's how we do it there. Now, for podcast episodes, I found that when I store things, it makes sense. I put LDB radio and then the number of the episode. And then I have a little hyphen with the title and topic. So that way, when I go into my hard drive or I want to go look at, any of my podcast audio backups, I just see all of them in order. They start out with the radio, and then they have, those numbers. So it's just super easy to find anything. If I only titled the podcast episodes with the actual title, and I didn't include the episode number, or I sometimes put the number at the end and sometimes at the beginning, then when you want to go find something, you're like, wait, what was that called? And the thing is, I know I'm not alone with this because I have gone into other people's filing systems and seen how they use random words, different every time. Sometimes they'll say, oh, this is the video final. And sometimes it's like _ video final or something. I mean, there's so much confusion out there. And I watch people who move around in circles. And I just want you to think, if I can just create some kind of very simple naming, sometimes using a number or the date or whatever, information is most relevant, it's just going to save you a lot of time and energy. Okay, and then rule number 4, our final one, is to create purposeful processes. So some digital files can just sit until it's time to find them. I did see someone who asked a great question in our Step Mastery Facebook group, and she said, oh, I have this information. It was something like a tree trimmer who could potentially trim their trees, and that she had a business card. And she said, I just don't know if it's incubation or someday. Now, the difference is incubation is like one step above the trash. It's like, I probably won't need this, but I'll just keep it just in case. Someday means I really want to do this, just right now isn't the right time. So I want to hold this and use it for later. But sometimes that thought process of, well, I don't know, am I going to trim the trees? Am I not going to trim the trees? Let's not worry about that. Let's just put it in the digital filing and have a tree trimmer or as many keywords as you would need to go find that when and if you need it. Now, if files are related to a project, you want to link them where you keep your project information. Here at Learn, Do, Become, we really emphasize the importance of having a projects list that's tiered. So current projects, what you're working on right now, and typically I say 7 or 8 is maximum. Then we have in progress or waiting. That just means you can't do anything more on the project, like you're waiting for a date to get here or you're waiting for someone else to do something. That's a nice little holding spot. Then we have next in line and someday. Think of it like a pyramid. Just a few current projects, someday can be bigger, right? Okay. So what happens is when you identify a project and you have multiple pieces of information that go with that project, instead of saying, well, all right, I'm going to go to Dropbox to find this, and I'll go to Evernote to find that, and I'll go to Google Drive for that, and then I'll go to my copy for that or whatever, I just try to put all the information together. Let's imagine that you are planning a vacation. You've taken some screenshots as you did some research online. You have a page of handwritten notes where you've written out some things that you're thinking about for the vacation. Maybe you got a brochure. Maybe there's a few links online. So you might have a lot of things like that. If you can digitize all of that, I recommend doing it. Take a photo of your handwritten notes. Take a little scan or photo of the brochure. Gather those links, any documents or anything that might go well with that. Bring it all together. And so if you have a good digital project manager, this is different than digital filing, but I use Asana. You could also use like Bootcamp or Trello or Monday. There's always going to be digital project managers out there. But I would put vacation plan. Now let's say it's on my current projects list. Great, I'm going to plan the vacation. But in the description of that project, you can put links, you can put PDFs, you can put photos, you can do, type out information. And so you might have some of those items that are in Google Drive or Dropbox or something like that. But all of those online options give you a link. And so you can create a little link and just paste it right in there in your digital project management. I don't use Asana to hold all my digital files. I use it maybe for copies, or like if it's temporary, I might just, pop it in there. But Asana is helping me know what I'm working on. And then all the links in the description that pull things from, my digital filing, they can just be included there. And it makes it so easy. That's what I'm talking about when I say having really purposeful processes. When you finish with that screenshot or when you finish, digitizing that item, you're going to put it in a place where it's going to come back to you when you need it. That's the whole goal. Now, let's say there's a piece of information you want to review at a certain time or on a certain date. You can create a little calendar reminder and you can add a link into the notes of that calendar reminder if you're doing it digitally. That way, you won't worry if it's out of sight, out of mind, because you have this little calendar reminder that's coming to you. Our son does activities every Tuesday night with the church group, and they have a little web page where they update the activity of the week. So on my Google Calendar, I have Spencer's, church group on Tuesday nights, and then I have a little asterisk after that, which means there's more details inside. When I go inside that calendared event, I have a link to the church website, so I can just click it and see what they're doing. That's a recurring thing I see every Tuesday. So it's so nice because I'm not like, oh, where's that text where they sent the church's website? Because it's kind of like a random URL. I never remember it. And I might be on my phone instead of my computer. I'm not going to bookmark it. So I just keep it there in the calendar. It's so simple. You also, another part of the processing is clearing our computer desktop daily and putting things where they belong. I try to do this in my phone as much as possible too. So if I take a screenshot, before I just let the screenshot go through my phone, I just think, what do I want to do with the screenshot? Why did I take it? If I just thought, oh, it's just kind of a fun thing, I just want to stick it in there and I don't really need it for any other purpose, and I could just search for it later if I want it, great. But if I take a screenshot of something and think, oh, I should send this to my friend, well, I'm just going to send it to my friend right then. Like 2 minutes or less, just do it. Or I take the screenshots and I put them into Evernote and I file them so I can always just locate them when I need them if they're related to something that's important that I want to do now or in the future. Or right when I finish recording this podcast, I'm going to put the audio file into Dropbox and into a folder for my hard drive that I transfer like once a month or so. So there's a backup and it's off my desktop and it's moved on to where it needs to go. And I know these things might seem really easy or basic, but how many people have files all over the place? I just want you to ask yourself that question. And what kind of person do you want to be? And I'm not saying if you don't have your files organized, you're a bad person. Of course you're not. You could live a beautiful life and never have any files organized ever. That's fine. But do you want to feel calm around the resources that you're using to do your work? And if you're not feeling calm right now, would this help you to feel calm? That's all I'm asking. And if the answer is yes, then I hope that you'll create an awesome digital system. Okay, I told you at the end I would show you where to put the notes that you took on this, if you took notes. And so here's what I would say. If you have no idea when or if you'll ever want to do this, then I would just file your notes into something like Google Drive, Evernote, OneNote, Notion, etc. Remembering to title it with as many keywords as would be helpful, right? So you might put Learn, Do, Become, or April Perry, or digital filing. If you took notes on paper, I do recommend you take a photo of those notes. Now, if you think that you actually do want to organize your digital files in the foreseeable future, then that's going to be a project. So you would go into, first I'll give you the digital option. Let's say you're using Asana. You would go into Asana and you would create a project that would be called Set Up Digital Filing System. And then inside the description, you could either paste the link to this podcast and put your notes right there, or if you've uploaded your notes to Google Drive or Evernote or something, you can include the link to those there. If you use paper for everything, you just create a paper folder for the project. You label the folder digital filing. You could put your notes in there, and perhaps you could include like the written link. So, just learndobecome.com/episode, right? Just put it in there. And current project paper resources go into your support materials. So if you had a cubby or something like I do, you're going to keep them with those current routines and projects. But if this is a next in line or someday project, you could just put that into long-term filing. It's just wherever you've written down the project name in next in line or someday, you just want to reference, like go to long-term filing. Just tell yourself where it is. Or if you're working on a project and whatever is next in line has a lot of big stuff, like big items, or out in the garage or somewhere else, you just reference it there. The nice thing is that as you get into these habits, you're going to just feel like you can accomplish any project and anything you want to do because the information is just right there. And I know it might seem a little tedious and you might have some questions, but it becomes so simple to manage once you have the steps in place. So please come to learndobecome.com/episode 282. That's our show notes page. You can see all of the, I've written this whole thing out so you can read it if you want. You can copy all my information if you want. We're also going to be embedding the YouTube video I made on this same topic so you can kind of see it there if that's more helpful. But my goal is for you to be able to see that getting organized with paper and digital, however you do it, it's not that hard and it's going to pay off big time for you. Okay, so I hope that this brings you joy and digital peace and lots of energy in the future as you realize that you have a system to support all the wonderful things you'll do. And as I close, I just want to share 3 quick stories from our community, some celebrations. First is from Angela. She includes a photo of her beautiful desk, and I will go ahead and put that on the show notes page. But she said, "This is my command center. I am so glad to have the parts up and running. Life is a lot easier now. I'm amazed how this system has helped me keep the rest of my house cleaner. It still has a way to go with the boxes under the desk." You can see them there, but she's got it. And that's what I love, is that her house is cleaner. Things are running. Life is easier. It's okay if there's boxes or something that's, needs to be taken care of because it's just next in line or someday. It's fine. Beautiful. So good job, Angela. And come to the show notes page so you can see it. This is from Janine, and she shared this awesome little quote about our free training, How to Finally Stop Drowning in Piles. That's at learndobecome.com/step if you're brand new. But she said, "This was phenomenal. I cannot believe how much I got from this free program. Amazing. I did pay for an organizer and an ADHD coach. My organizer was great, but my coach was so-so. I believe I have gotten more from this half hour than the time spent with the coach." So I'm sorry, her experience with her coach wasn't great, but I am so glad that with our free training, just a half an hour was able to help her and that she feels so excited. So wonderful, Janine. Welcome. So happy for you. And then this one from Valerie was awesome. She said, "I just thought of this. I have a habit of buying Christmas presents all through the year and then losing them somewhere in the house and not finding them until well past Valentine's Day. Especially if it's a gift for someone living in my house, which means I hide it in a safe place where they'll never find it. I can leave a note for myself in my December tickler file, reminding myself what I obtained and where I stashed it. As a bonus, this will save me money over time." So I love it, Valerie. Okay, so just a couple options here. We talk about how we can do this, paper versus digital. A tickler file, you can also call it like calendar-related support materials. Some people don't like the word tickler. It's fine. It just means it like tickles your memory. I learned that from David Allen. So a tickler file paper version is somewhere between 1 and 12 folders. I use 12, one for each month. And you put papers that you need on a specific day, but you reference anything you put in the tickler on your calendar. Or with the project, so you can just find it when you need it. So if you are using a paper list like Valerie and you have a paper tickler, awesome. You can just have this piece of paper that says, here's all the gifts for Christmas and here's where they're all hidden. Put them in your December tickler folder. You'll also want to create a reminder for yourself on the calendar. Maybe it's December 1st or December 12th or whatever, and say, go to December tickler to find the list of gifts. Right. Okay, simple. If you're doing this digitally, you could create a little digital note where you track everything you bought, where you hit it, that type of stuff. And then you could link that note with your calendar reminder. That makes, or reference it if you're using a paper calendar. I just want to make sure you're clear that it doesn't matter if you're using paper or digital. It's totally up to you. I use half and half, and I have a whole video describing that on YouTube if you want to go check it out, where it's great to use any resource that brings you joy. If you hate digital things and you're like, I just can't do it, fine, use paper. You'll be just great. Or if you're thinking, I would never carry a paper planner. I would never want any paper files. Awesome. It's easier than ever to scan and digitize now. You could do all of it digitally. So I just want you to feel empowered however it works best for you. But I love what Valerie's doing. I loved hearing from all of you. I still have like hundreds and hundreds of these beautiful community stories I need to just get out and share. So I'm trying to put as many on the podcast as I can. We're putting them on our website. We're putting them on social media. We're sharing them in our newsletter. And if you don't have our welcome kit yet, if you go to learndobecome.com/welcome, we'll get you all set up. Anyway, we just love you and appreciate you and want you to feel relief. I hope you have an amazing day, and please tell your friends about Learn, Do, Become, because if the whole world can get organized, it's going to feel great for all of us, okay? So please share, and thanks again for being here with us at learndobecome.com.